Shalom is Levi Shore. We're here with Rabbi Mordecai Darvish from the Gates of Mordecai. Welcome back to Sweet and Good Torah and the Gates of Mordecai Extravaganza. So we're going to let it rip today. We're going to talk all about the anti-Semitism ripping through the college campuses of America. The Palestinians are getting all Palestinian in America. It's great. America's getting a view of what it's like over in Israel. We're going to look at an amazing Rambam. Mora Navukim, the guide for the perplexed. Any opening comments, or should I just bring up the Rambam?
Yeah, bring up the Rambam, but just remind everybody to like, subscribe, and share our videos. That way we get more people out there on our platform. It really helps us.
And it just feels nice. It just feels nice when someone's listening. Okay, let me so we're gonna look at it different ways. Like what's happening with all this anti-Semitism. Is there a purpose behind it? Is Hashem doing this like for a positive reason, even though the people that are doing it, they're just filled with hate? But is there a positive reason for all this? And we'll take a look at why it's happening. So this is a really interesting Rambam here. You want to take it away? Do you have it in front of you,
Okay.
or can you?
I know I can read it off the screen. I can read it off
Okay,
the
okay.
phone.
All right. So if you can see it, why don't you can read it, take it away, and
Okay.
we'll talk about it.
So the Rambam in the Guide of the Perplexed, one of his classical works on Jewish philosophy, um, basically boils down what we're seeing unfolding in front of our eyes. You want me to do it in Hebrew or we got
No,
the
no,
English?
no. Just we'll do it in English. We'll do it in
Yeah.
English. I was just showing
Okay.
everybody. So if you want
Yeah,
to look,
we're not making anything up. It's just a direct translation.
okay. Oh
All the
yeah,
great, yeah, ready?
yeah.
Okay, here we go. So all the great evils which men cause to each other because of certain intentions, desires, opinions, or religious principles are likewise due to non-existence because they originate in ignorance, which is an absence of wisdom. Okay, basically all the fights that we're seeing is because of ignorant people who lack wisdom.
Mm.
Rambam's he's going to further elaborate what wisdom that is. A blind man, for example, who has no guide, stumbles constantly because he cannot see and causes injury and harm to himself and others. In the same manner, various classes of men, each man in proportion to his ignorance, bring great evils upon themselves and upon other individual members of the species. Okay? Because of their stupidity and ignorance, they cause evil to others. Okay? If men possessed wisdom, which stands in the same relation to the form of man as the sight to the eye, they would not cause any injury to themselves or to others. Okay? So he's saying wisdom won't cause injury not to themselves and not to other people. For the knowledge of truth removes hatred and quarrels and prevents mutual injuries. The state of society is promised to us by the prophet in the words, and the wolf shall dwell with the lamb, and the cow and the bear shall feed together, and the suckling child shall play on the hole of the asp. The prophet also points out what will be the cause of this change, meaning what is this wisdom that will bring upon us this wonderful time without quarrel, without injury to each other. He says, for he says that hatred, quarrel, and fighting will come to an end because men will then have a true knowledge of God. Okay? True knowledge of God is what men need to acquire in order to stop fighting with each other. They shall not hurt nor destroy in all my holy mountain, for the earth shall be full of the knowledge of the Lord as the waters cover the sea.
Mm.
Note it. Okay, take note of it. So the knowledge of God will be spread upon humanity, and then they will see and understand that there's no benefit to hurting each other. And
Yeah.
that is the crux of it all. That's I mean the Rambam here is giving us the key, the magic potion to it
Yeah.
all. Choose
No,
should be choose to believe it.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think it's really interesting. I mean, it shows like all conflict, like all jealousy, all anger, like it's this imperfect understanding that, right, there's only one infinite being that's created everyone, right? So, and he's giving life to everyone, like over the 8 billion people in the world right now. Hashem, this one infinite being, is giving life to us all right now.
Right.
He's giving us exactly what we need today. Whatever we needed today, we have, but it's confusing to people because they're looking around and they're like, well, I want that or I want that, So, and then
Well,
it's all this
yeah.
conflict. Yeah.
If that's the goal of life, to acquire things instead of knowledge, then yeah, sure, the other person has, something, and that something is limited in quantity. So, they're my stumbling block to get that thing, because they've made the goal of life the acquisition of things instead of the acquisition of the knowledge of God.
Mm.
Right? And when it'll turn to the acquisition of knowledge of God, then they'll understand those things as tools to live a better life, and not as in ends in and of themselves.
Yeah. No, no, I mean, I think right, anti-Semitism or hatred in general, it works on a couple different levels. Like as you're saying, there's one level of like just in the physical material world, and someone looks and like, oh, this person has a mansion and this person has sports cars and I don't have that and I want that. So in one way, like it works on the physical levels where they don't appreciate that all the physical things they need today, they have. But it also works in the spiritual realm too, because it says like, where does all the sin come from? Where's all the hatred come from? It comes from Sinai, because there's a spiritual lack in the world. And there is a hatred in the sense of like, well, the Jewish people, when they stood at Mount Sinai and we received the Torah, there's a hatred from all the other nations because, in a sense, they feel that loss of not getting the Torah. And but we haven't done anything that's not possible for any other nation to do. It's simply accepting the Torah and connecting to Hashem. So it's not impossible for
Accepting
yeah.
the knowledge of God. That's what the
Yeah.
Rambam is saying, accepting the knowledge of God.
Yeah.
So, because people aren't going after that, they're going after the material things, like you said,
Yeah.
whether it be land, whether it be, material possessions such as gold and cars and even women and whatever it may be in the world, right?
Yeah.
It's just the constant competition for more than what one actually needs. That breeds contempt and breeds jealousy and breeds hatred and all that stuff. Because again, like the Rambam said, it's an ignorance. It's what is ignorance? Is someone who doesn't understand the purpose of life, and they're ignorant, right? They're chasing certain things that they think will give them fulfillment, and they're absolutely wrong. If we look at the world per capita, America, the living standards outweigh the majority of the universe, right? The majority of the world, and yet 50% of the population is depressed. They're on antidepressant medication, anti-anxiety medication. Like, come on, are you serious? Right? Because they misplace their knowledge. They use their knowledge for the acquisition of things,
Mm.
right? They use their brains to acquire more and more. It's not for for no reason that you see the most educated, meaning the most capable minds, instead of going into the fields of STEM and research and sciences and all that stuff, they go into Wall Street, right? They go into banking. They go where the money is, right? Follow the money, and that's what society breeds.
Yeah, I mean, right. You can't really look around the world right now and really say like who is that person that's really revered for his wisdom. You right, we have many examples of like the people that are revered for maybe like talent, like a talented musician or a talented actor or a talented athlete, or people are revered for they made a lot of money. So like if you look at interesting like Elon Musk, I mean he's an engineer, he studied physics,
Yeah,
but
but
he's
nobody's
not
revealing it for that.
yeah, it's not really like wow, like Elon Musk, he has such great innovations in physics and engineering. It's like, no, he's a billionaire. He's a billionaire, so that's why, or like Jeff Bezos, like, okay, that was an interesting idea to bring. Here, Bezos is a great example because here he had an idea to make knowledge very accessible to people, right? Like the online bookstore. where now any book, any knowledge that a person could want, they could get. But he's not revered for spreading knowledge. He's revered because he's a
Well,
billionaire, you know?
well, yeah, I don't think that was his intent. It could have been, in business school we learned about widgets, and we asked the teacher,
Yeah.
"What's a widget?" And like it could mean anything, right? It's just a fictional term for anything that you could buy at one price and sell for another,
Yeah.
right? That's that. It wasn't for the knowledge of books that he started Amazon. But you're right. You're right. He could have taken it to the good side, the positive, the
No,
positive
I
end.
no, I no, I hear. Okay, maybe that wasn't his main job. Maybe he wanted to make a lot of money. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what his
he, he
motivations
actually
were, but
he actually left Wall Street for that.
yeah. All right, so he wanted to make money. But I mean, the point is this, like, people are revered for the wealth,
So
but there's
now, so
very
now, so now that wealth drives people, it moves people. And we're talking about this rise in anti-Semitism and all these like idiot protests on college campuses.
yeah,
They're not fueled by knowledge and wisdom. They're fueled by money. They're backed by money.
yeah,
Okay, and if they weren't backed by money, then they wouldn't be in such number and such coordination, right? With such intensity,
mhm.
right? Because knowledge of people, smart people, they don't start. They're not radicals. Radicals are people who are lacking, in between the ears, and so they have to use force in their body to convey what they want instead of ideas in their mouth, and that's what we're
Right.
seeing.
All right, so no, okay, but it's interesting. Okay, so they're bringing up the issue, right? They're bringing up the issue. Who does the land of Israel belong to? Who does Eretz Yisrael belong to? Right? They're claiming it's theirs. They're the children of Ishmael. They're the
No,
children.
but that's not why they claim it. They just said it's theirs because they were there before. Like, and their timeline starts whenever they want to.
Okay,
It
okay,
was
but I want to get down to
right.
the heart of the matter. Okay, but the heart of the matter is right. Ishmael's claiming the land's ours, theirs. Sorry, we're descendants of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. We're the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and Abraham entered into the bris bein habesarim, the actual covenant with Hashem, that the land was promised to the Jewish people, to the children of Abraham and Yitzhak and Yaakov. But I want to get even to the heart of the matter. What's so important? Why is Eretz Israel, why is it so special? Why is that land different from all other lands? And why does it have this intense, like, the view of the world, the nations of the world are all focused on Israel, and it's spreading, and the fight for Israel, we see it spreading all over the world now. It's spreading to all the college campuses in America. So what's so important about Israel that they're all fighting over? Let's get to the heart of the issue. What is
Well,
so important? Yeah.
who are the people that are fighting over it? I mean, it's not like China's fighting over it, right? Or South Africa or Australia. Who's fighting over it
Well,
actually,
I
right?
mean, China bought, I mean, I think they bought one of the big Israeli food companies. I think there was some negotiation for a while. They wanted the port of
They,
Haifa.
they,
So
they,
don't
they,
act,
they,
so
they,
don't
they,
act like China's not interested
they,
also in Israel.
They bought Snuva, but that's not because they're interested in some deep spiritual significance of
Okay.
having this land, right? You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
but you could have bought a food processing company anywhere. Why they have to
They
be in Israel?
do. They're trying to spread it throughout the whole world.
Okay.
China, I don't know if China's the example we want to go with, but let's say the current Arabs that are there, right? What are they actually saying, right? They're fueling lies and spreading lies all over, and just making claims. Now, who are the people who are following them? If you see any Western liberal secular person following the Arab lies, you have to conclude that they're just ignorant of the knowledge of the facts. The facts are that the land is called Judea and Samaria, right? Judah and Shomron. Israel is the name of Yaakov. Yaakov was the son of Yitzchak, who is the son of Abraham. And like you said, the land was promised to them. And hence the land is called the land of Israel, right? Palestine or the Philistines came much later in history, right? And that's what's being spread as lies, and nobody's actually fact checking the idiots, because the idiots have the megaphones, right? And so the idiots are following the other idiots, right? Who are just shouting and using brute force instead of intellect. And if we were honest with ourselves, all of Islam started that way, right? It wasn't the genius of the Muhammad who overwhelmed people with his intellect. He overwhelmed them with his sword. They said he told them either you're going to convert to Islam or I'm going to slaughter you,
Yeah.
right? And that's how their religion spread. So how are they spreading their message? It's by force because they don't know any other way. That's their roots. That's their genealogy. They don't know with logical arguments. They don't want the truth. If they were truth seekers, then they would acknowledge it, but they're not. And that's the world we live in. That's the world we're facing. And it's funny that it's coming in academia because, like you said, God is showing people like for all your intelligence, it's not worth 2 cents. Okay, you put your go ahead.
No, so I wanted to say, so the importance of the spread of knowledge, like where does knowledge come from? Where is it going to spread from? And then we have the famous Ki Mitzion Teitzei Torah, because
Right.
out of Tzion, out of the Temple Mount, out of eventually the temple, then that the Torah will come from there. And then Udavar Hashem me Yerushalayim, and the word of Hashem will come from Jerusalem. Meaning, like when Mashiach comes, when we have a Beis Hamikdash, when we have a temple, when the world sees the Shekhinah, when they see the presence of this infinite being on the Aron HaKodesh, on the Ark of the Covenant, then, like we're saying, Rambam saying, like the knowledge will then spread throughout the world. The knowledge of Hashem will spread throughout the world, and then we'll enter into the Messianic age. When everyone sees that we're all connected to one infinite being, we're gonna have clarity, and then every nation's given the part of the earth that's perfect for their nation. But see, right now, other nations and people are desiring what's not there. It's like it's famous quote from Pirkei Avos Ben Zoma. It says, "Who's happy? Who's a happy person? Sameach bechelko. A happy person is happy with his portion. Whatever Hashem gave to him, he's happy with what he has, not what everyone else has." That's a lot, but that's a lot. Okay.
If you're going to do that, it has to be a wise person who would then be happy with his portion, right? Because only a stupid person would be unhappy with their portion, right? Because if they understand that their portion was given to them in proportionality to their objective in life and without a trace of error, then they would be happy with it, right? But if they surmise that perhaps they got the short end of the stick somehow, that justice isn't fair, isn't correct, right? Then, they start with their complaints. And that's what we see. We see like all this diversity, inclusion, jargon and BS being thrown around, which is the root of communism. Yeah. Right. Which is right. It's like the opiate of the masses. It's not religion that's the opiate of the masses. It's communism that's the opiate of the masses. Right. It gives hope. We're all equal. Everybody can have a piece of the pie. Right. Yeah. Never mind that the people at the top have more of the piece of the pie. Right. And they leave the peasants, the people at the bottom, to have the little crumbs between them. Fight over that too as well.
No, I think it's interesting because like the Rambam gives a lot of clarity of like, it seems on the surface, how is it possible that people that want socialism and communism, atheists, socialism, communism, how could they align themselves with Islamists who want, Sharia law? Like how are they aligned? But it's interesting, and we really, but we see it with this. We see it with this, right? The Palestinians are claiming that Israel's theirs, but Hashem it never promised them and never gave it to them. So they want what's not theirs. And it's the same thing with communism, like you're saying. The communists want what's not theirs. Like there was royalty in Russia, and the communists, they hated it, and they claimed that they were going to distribute the wealth to everyone. But in essence, what just happened is then you just had a communist aristocracy. The peasants are still on the bottom. So it's like the famous Who song, like, the new boss is just like the old boss. We're out here in the fields, working for our meals, we won't get fooled again, by your new revolution. It's because it's true, because like the common person, they're still on the bottom. All that happens is the one aristocracy is replaced with another aristocracy. Look at America. The revolution in America started because there was taxation without representation. Well, guess what? We're right back where we started. I don't think anyone in Congress is doing what I want. They're doing their own agenda. We're getting taxed, taxed, taxed. So
Right.
we're back to taxation without representation. So all we did is we substituted the British royal family, right, for the new royals, the Obamas, the Clintons, the Trumps, the Bushes, whoever you want to say, the,
Political
the political
figures, yeah.
aristocracy, the political aristocracy.
The political figures who are run by the businesses who are chasing after the money,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Because who really runs the government, right? It's all the lobbyists, right? It's a joke. It's a joke. Maybe you want to lower it a little bit so they can see the full clip on the screen.
Oh,
Go over while we're
oh,
speaking. People can
okay,
see it.
okay. Let me
I
let me
don't know. I guess that maybe the full clip doesn't fit in so
let me here,
neatly.
let me. Oh, I can't get rid of it. Yeah. I don't
Okay.
know.
What
Wait,
are you
we're
gonna?
lacking the knowledge. We can't hear. I'll bring it back to us. I'll stop the share. I'll bring. Okay.
Okay.
So
Okay.
no, now that we're talking about the revolution, like it brings me back to like there was a famous musician, like rap poet, like Gil Scott Heron. He sung great song or rap about song like Whitey on the Moon. He was kind of pre-rap. One of his most famous hits was "The Revolution Will Not Be Televised." The
Oh yeah, I remember
revolution will not be
that.
televised. Will not be sponsored by ABC. Like I forgot the corporations, Coca-Cola. But what's so funny is this communist revolution, this Palestinian communist revolution on the college
Right.
campuses, it is sponsored. This revolution is brought to you by Soros. It's brought to you by Sony. It's brought to you, by ABC, NBC, CNN. The revolution is televised and it is sponsored, corporate sponsorship. It's like,
I recently heard an interesting point. I wanted to
yeah, yeah,
run it by you.
yeah.
That like 4 years ago, almost to the day, was the whole George Floyd fiasco
Mm.
that divided everybody, that brought on these riots and all that stuff. And you see the same thing happening now. And we know back then in 2020 were the elections of 2020. And we know now coming up in a few months is the elections of 2024. Do you see any connections between all this? Or do you think it's just
Um,
random?
well, I'll tell,
Random.
okay, I'll tell you what's in. Okay, so here in Baltimore, right, we had the unfortunate death of Freddie Gray, and that caused some riots. And I think the first one people forget, but I think the first one, I think his name may have been like Michael Brown. I forgot his name was like Hands Up, Don't Shoot. It was somewhere in the Midwest. I want to say like Missouri, outside St. Louis, somewhere, Kansas City, somewhere around that area. But to me, George Floyd was a great tragedy in some ways because I mean, he should have just been arrested. And it was strange, like the police like sitting on top of him. I don't know. I mean, I really separate out George Floyd from some of those other cases. What?
Are you kidding? That's what started the whole outrage, the
No,
whole the
no, but
whole
wasn't but
riots and everything like that.
wasn't George Floyd the one where the police officer was like kneeling on top of
Yeah,
him?
he on his neck. But it was proven afterwards in court and everything like that that the police officer didn't choke him
I
and he died
I, I don't
of
know.
a
I mean
drug
that
overdose.
did seem like unnecessary to. I mean, just arrest the guy. Just
But it just so happened that was televised, right? And
yeah.
that was
No,
that was
I hear what you're saying.
over, and everybody
I mean,
caught
okay,
it,
okay,
right?
okay, okay,
All the injustices that happen on a daily basis,
okay.
that one was caught, and
Oh,
that
okay.
one spread
Okay.
wildfire. Right?
Okay. No, for sure, I agree with you. What you're saying is whatever is happening with all that, the media is amplifying it. The media is using these cases, right, to create this like rage and anger and animosity in society for sure. Yeah.
Because if the Palestinians, these Arabs, were oppressed
Yeah.
before October 7th,
Yeah.
why wasn't this the talk of the town? If people cared so much, why was it? What's going on now? They're being oppressed now after
I
they came in
yeah.
and raped, tortured, burnt babies. You can find the clips online. You can see everything that they did. They GoPro'd it. Right
I
now, everybody cares. Now,
I
everybody all of a
yeah.
sudden has a sensitive heart.
Yeah, no,
What happened? What's going
yeah.
on here?
No, I think it's interesting because I think Hashem is really giving America a taste of what really goes on in Israel. Because basically it's the same thing. You have the Arabs, the so-called Palestinians, they're coming in claiming the land's ours. Just like these students come onto a college campus that's not theirs and they're the real occupiers. They come in through violent means and they take it over, and then they cry that they're being oppressed when anyone tries to stop them. So they take over a campus. They attack
See, they
the
can do
Jews.
violence to you, but you can't do violence
Oh, right.
back.
They attack the Jews. They're violent. They take over, and then as soon as the police or an authority figure comes to stop them, they cry, humanitarian aid and ceasefire. No, look, we were there during the Second Intifada. The Palestinians, there's this fantasy that, and I'm telling you, I'm just sick of it. I mean, there's a fantasy in the world that you have these murderous terrorist groups that are all Palestinian. Their school system they treat to hate the Jews from the time they're little children until the time they're old. You know, and they have a society that's produced nothing. For all Palestinian society has produced is terrorism. That's their only export. They have like at least 7 major terrorist groups. They're teaching the most anti-Semitic like education system that would make Hitler Yamak Shemo blush. The Nazis would blush if they saw the hatred that the Palestinians, and then the media and the nations of the world, they pretend that there's magically like different Palestinian groups. It's like Hamas portray, it's a brutal massacre. It's a pogrom. They're slaughtering Israelis, burning babies, raping. And don't get me started on the fact that Israel hasn't rescued, these hostages yet. Over 208 days now. The whole thing stinks. The whole thing stinks to high heaven. But they do this. They do these atrocities, and then the world pretends like, oh, well, that was this Palestinian group, but the rest of the Palestinians are good, kind-hearted, loving little, people, right? No,
Yeah.
they're all cheering. They were cheering when those
Right.
women were brutally raped. And these women have been raped.
Right.
Some of these women, Chas v'shalom, have been being raped for 208 days now, and the
Yeah.
world does nothing. No nation in the world sends their army to rescue these hostages, and they demand aid for the Palestinians.
Right.
Humanitarian. America's building a pier so they can constantly arm. When did any other nation ever fight a war where they're negotiating how to fight the war, the whole war? I've never seen anything like it. I thought about this today. Day one, Israel was attacked. They should have sent the whole army into Gaza. Day one, brought the hostages back out, and then slaughtered Hamas. Day one. That's not what they've done. They played this ridiculous game where they beg the world for permission to fight a war. They don't fight a war. I'm sorry. I can't take it.
I told you from the beginning. I told you this whole thing stinks.
I can't take it anymore with the Palestinian fantasy garbage. But now the world's getting a taste of what Palestinian culture is like. How about when they come onto your beautiful campuses and take over your academic schools, and they claim it's now theirs. Harvard's now theirs. Yale's theirs. University of Pennsylvania. Did the Palestinians build these schools? Did they build America? Did they build any of this? No, they destroy and tear down, and the world cheers them on. And now you're getting a taste of what Palestine's really like.
I heard something very interesting recently. And who do you think that these schools get? Where do you think they get the majority of their money from? Do you think it's tuition? Do you think it's tuition? Do you think? Right. Well, they did a study. They did a study. Okay, they did a study, and the majority of their funds are coming from Qatar. Okay, it's coming. Over 50% of their funds are coming from donors that have an interest that is not Judeo-Christian. Okay, it's a Muslim interest, and if you were the heads of these universities, and one Jewish guy called and said, "Hey, he's responsible for maybe $60,000 a year," and his wants versus the wants of the guy giving you hundreds of millions of dollars a year, right? Billions of dollars a year. Whose call are you gonna pick up?
Well, look, I mean, if you want to go into the corruption of the world, I mean, you already have the establishment here. I mean, you have the Rockefeller Foundation, the Bill Gates and Melinda, Foundation. You have Soros Foundation. I mean, so you have a pretty solid, the little group that calls themselves the New World Order, the atheist communist philosophy foundations, but it's like you say, it's the lack of knowledge. And when there's a lack of knowledge of the world, the evil can come in and infect people's minds with these bad philosophies, and it's a lack of knowledge of God. And, I apologize, but I'm just sick of the corruption. I'm sick of the murder. I'm sick of people cheering on the evil in the world. It's
Well,
like people understand. Yeah,
that's what Marx was. Marx was against God, against religion, right? That's the evil of godlessness. People, in school were taught, oh, the Crusades and the killings back then, and they were all for the name of religion, and religion has caused so many deaths and yada yada yada. And really, we see the godlessness is what causes death. And it's like Avram said to Avimelech and to Paro, it's like he said to them, like, why did you? They asked him, why did you lie that Sarah is your sister and not your wife? He said, because if I said she was my wife, you would have killed me. Because there's no fear of God in this place. I lied to you because I have to treat you with danger and got to be cautious of what you might do to me because you don't fear God. There's nothing above you, right? Except you. Whatever your wants, your interests are, you're going to carry them out. And
yeah,
that's the danger of Marxist communism
yeah.
for all their ideals that everybody's going to be equal and everybody's going to have it good. And that's ridiculousness, right? That's what you might have it good for your body, but your soul will be totally lacking.
Yeah, when people remove the fear of God, like the communism's done and the Nazis, Yamaksho, and all of them, societies where they remove the fear of God, and unfortunately it's starting to happen a lot in America. But when you remove the fear of God, when you remove the knowledge that there's consequences to your actions, you do good, good comes back to you. Chas v'shalom, someone doesn't do good, not good things happen to them. And when you remove this, then the destruction comes. Then people are destroying each other, attacking each other, stealing from each other because they don't feel like they have what they need. When they don't feel like Hashem, when this infinite loving being has given them what they need, then they have to take. They have to take from others because they feel like what others have is theirs. And it's a very evil, it's an evil God, right? Like you're saying, godless world. That's
Yeah,
the
that's the crux of it because the whole world was created that humanity should discover God. And if humanity is discovering nihilism and like how to enjoy every single second of their life, and any kind of discomfort is causing them pain, and you have millionaires and billionaires fighting over more possessions. Like, are you insane? You really are out of your mind. You're out of your mind that you should spend the days of your life on this earth, which are limited, you're fighting other people for more resources than you could ever possibly use, right? And people are doing that to this day. It's
so
unbelievable.
So I mean, looking at the positive side of it, like how I was viewing it is like, in a sense, like Hashem's waking up his people. Hashem's like, turn on the alarm clock. When the Jews, like the Jews of America, right, instead of being in yeshiva, instead of learning Torah, instead of acquiring the knowledge of God, we become assimilated, and like the goal became going to Harvard, going to Yale, going to the Ivy League schools. And it's a big wake up call. And Hashem saying, look, this is your Ivy League schools. They're only teaching hatred of the Jewish people. And they're not teaching you how to be close to God. And they're not really teaching you morality. And they're not teaching people how to be, good people.
It's a
They're
fake
like,
moral.
like
Yeah.
what we were talking before. They're teaching you how to get a degree from a prestigious school and get a high paying job and just live on the top of the material world, but they're not teaching people how to connect to God. They're not teaching people how to be better. And only the Torah, only Hashem's blueprint for the world, it can teach people and elevate people to do this. When we do the mitzvos, we're attaching ourselves to an infinite being. We're elevating ourselves. We're pulling our souls up. We're acting more like Hashem is the ultimate giver. When we learn how to give, we become more godly. And like what you're saying, when we only take, we become like less godly. We become, in a sense, like the other side, the Sitra
Yeah.
Achra, the other side, not the Sitra Kedusha, not the side of holiness. We become like the other side, like the Satan. We're down to like a little over 4 minutes. What's your
The
big
4 minute warning. This feels
four
like a
minute
football
warning? 4 minute warning. What's your big take? So how do we get out of this? And
game. My big take is like I think we were speaking a little bit earlier off air that it's like a big Super Bowl party, right? You have the Super Bowl, you have the avid fans who actually want to watch the game, and then you have the stragglers that come in, and some do it for the atmosphere, some do it for the food, some do it for they have nothing better to do that night. Everybody's watching the game, and it's like the people who are the straggling coming in and don't really understand the game, they keep bothering the other people and say, like making, snide comments about the game or asking silly questions about the game because they don't really know what the game is, right?
Mm.
And sometimes, they can make so much background noise and so much background distraction. Then the people like who really want to enjoy the game and get into it are just they're throwing off their rocker, right? And I think that's what's going on in the world, right? Like what's going on in the world is people don't really know the game of life, the purpose of life, and so they distract the people who do know the purpose of life with their silly, their silliness. Basically, that's what the Rambam says. Like their
Right.
ignorance, their stupidity is what causes them to quarrel and to fight and to bring illness and hurt upon themselves and upon the others. Because look about it, look at it. Like Hamas, when they attacked Israel, they brought hurt about Israel, right? But then they got it back, the hundredfold, right?
Yeah.
They got it back to themselves. So they caused other people injury and they caused themselves injury when they could have lived just like all the other Arabs in Israel, the 2 million of them citizens, right? Enjoying full rights, and people say Israel's an oppressor is just stupid and ignorant, more stupidity and more ignorance, right? If you go to Israel, you see Arabs in all walks of society, wherever from the top to the bottom, from the government to the janitor. Okay, you see signs in Arabic, public signs, road signs, whatever it is, everything. It's a second language there. It's pure insanity, pure stupidity to say that the Jews are somehow oppressing the Arab population over there. And yet that ignorance is what brought and brings and continues to bring all the hurt and hatred and pain upon the people who are incorrectly labeling it and the people who they're throwing that label onto.
Yeah. No, so just to wrap it up. So Bezrat Hashem, like the Jewish people that know the Torah, like will continue to spread the Torah throughout the world. And then Bezrat Hashem, the rest of the Jewish people, they're going to start to wake up. They're going to start to see, right, this is not the true knowledge of the world. And really the ultimate wisdom given to mankind is the Torah. And that
Right.
teaches how, people to connect to Hashem. Everyone can connect to this infinite creator. And then we can connect better with each other. When everyone is happy with what they have, like Ben Zoma says, when everyone's sameach bechelko, everyone's happy with what Hashem's given them today, you can pray for more. But if you're happy with what you got today, you're a happy person.
Yeah, we should teach them about the Super Bowl of life, right?
The Super Bowl, maybe that'll be our next one. All right, we got to wrap it up now. We're out of time. Okay, but we'll see you back soon on Sweet Good Torah and Gates of Mordecai. Like, share, subscribe, all the good stuff. We'll see you soon.